Good morning. Happy Wednesday. So today we finish up Hebrews chapter 6. We have been in this difficult passage, verses 4 through 6, looked at it, tried to unpack it historically and theologically to explain. It looks like the first pass, it looks like we can lose our salvation, and I explained to you why I didn't think that's the right interpretation of this passage. Let me just note that what we did there, I hope, was instructive. And the first rule of Bible study is, as I've said many times, is we want to understand what the original writer intended the original reader to understand. So we're gonna do basic hermeneutical work. We're gonna look at the words and their definitions. We're gonna look at the genre. Is it poetry? Is it a parable? Is it prophecy? Is it discourse? Because there's different rules that apply to different genres. We're gonna look at it in its context, both the context of what's being written and also the historical context. What were the events that were going on? So how do all of these things inform what we understand? A second principle of Bible study is that we interpret difficult passages or confusing passages in light of passages that are easier to understand. So there's a narrative arc to the Bible. There's a big point. It's unfolding. And so when we come to something we don't initially get, or it seems to contradict something else, we work to looking at the clearer passages to help us understand the more difficult. So that's part of what went on. Now, as we move forward, we get a shift. All of this is taking place as part of a little tangent that began in Hebrews chapter 5, verse 11, where the writer was scolding the people because they weren't as developed as they need to be, they weren't as diligent students, and so they couldn't understand the difficult points. And then he gives this warning. Well, we're about to move on from the warning, but let me just say, I remember 20 years ago, 15 years ago, Sherry and I took the boys on a kayaking trip. We were with friends, good friends, longtime friends who lived in British Columbia, and so we had gone to vacation with them. They had 3 kids. We had 3 kids, and they're all some of them are young, maybe 8 or 10, and so we get it starts. This is whitewater, not big rapids by any means, but it was sort of, there's some whitewater that we were going to be in, and so. This is different than the kind of ocean kayaking we had done before. So we get this 2-hour tutorial about how to get out of your kayak if it flips, and what to look for on the river, and how to avoid sweepers, and what happens if you fall out of your kayak. And it's this long, that's this long sort of discourse where we're getting trained for this stuff. And several times I remember looking over at Sherry and going, are we going to do this? This is sounding a little bit more ominous than what we had signed up for. And then at the end, just when I'm about ready to say, okay, you know what? This is a bad idea. We're not going to go. The guide that we have, 19 years old, a college student, goes, but none of that's going to happen. You guys are going to have a great day. And in fact, that is what happened. We had a great day. And we get a little bit of that here in Hebrews chapter 6. So let me read verses 9 through 12. So we just had this warning, you could fall away, so don't let that happen. And I said, I think this is referring to people who actually had never come to faith initially, but we've had that warning. And now he says, but beloved, we are convinced of better things concerning you, and things that accompany salvation, though we're speaking in this way. For God is not unjust so as to forget your work and the love which you have shown toward his name in having ministered and in still ministering to the saints. And we desire that each one of you show the same diligence so as to realize the full assurance of hope until the end, that we may not be sluggish, but imitators of those who through faith and patience inherit the promise. So look, here's what's going on. He says, God is not unjust. He sees your work. He sees who you are. He sees what's going on. He knows your heart. Now, it's not that the work that the writer of Hebrews sees in their life is he thinks they've done enough work to earn their salvation. We are not saved by our effort, right? We are not saved by what we do. We're saved by grace through faith, not of ourselves. It's a gift of God, not as a result of our efforts, of our work. However, the work that we do is a confirmation of a changed life. So how do you tell an apple tree from a pear tree? You look at the fruit of the tree. Good trees produce good fruit. Apple trees produce apple fruit. Pear trees produce pears. So the fruit of our life is a confirmation of the changes going on in our heart. So that's the gist of this. I got a call yesterday from somebody attending the church who was a little bit concerned. He says, I'm not certain that I'm right with God. I'm not certain that I have done what I needed to do. And that's a serious question. And it is prudent for us to ask ourselves that question from time to time. And so we talked about a number of things, but I just want to say in this context, what the writer is saying is, look, I see the fruit of your life. And so the warning that I've given you, I gave it to you because you need to hear it, but at the same time, I'm convinced of better things for you. So I just want to encourage you to examine your life. What is the fruit of your life today? We'll talk again tomorrow.